Hey guys, James with Torches and Tactical, and today we have a twofer for you. Now we have the DL30 and the DL10R. These are both dive lights from our friends over at Wurkkos. Now they sent these over because they wanted you guys to know exactly what these things are capable of in case you are going to find yourself in the water anytime soon. So for starters, the DL30 has a maximum of 3600 lumens from three LH351D Samsung emitters, and with a maximum runtime of 5 hours and 52 minutes, a beam distance of 240 meters, and impact resistance of 1 meter. Now, if that doesn't sound that impressive, keep in mind that the DL30 can do all that while reaching depths of up to 100 meters or 164 yards underwater. In addition to that, without the battery, it comes in at a paltry 130 grams, so you're not going to tire yourself out while hitting those depths. And finally, it is 118 millimeters in length with a head diameter of 41 millimeters. While, on the other side of things, you can go with a single emitter, XHP70.2, and this is going to give you 4500 lumens with a maximum runtime of 4 hours and 19 minutes. And if you need it, this will give you 287 meters of throw while being impact resistant to that same 1 meter. But one feature that this does have that the DL30 doesn't is this has a USB-C port, so you can go ahead and get things charged up without having to take the battery out. So let's go ahead and move on, find out what comes in the package for each, because I think you'll be quite pleased with the amount of accessories that each provides you, and then we'll move on to more of those specifications and find out how the user interface works. For starters, the DL30 comes in the classic Wurkkos orange and white box. The DL30 lets you know that it has the LH351D. It is the set, so that includes the battery, the charger, all that fun stuff. It is black. Those LH351Ds come in at 5000K. So let's go ahead and open her up. And we have a user manual. In addition to that, we have a couple of replacement O-rings. We have a battery tube in case you want to switch over to an 18650 instead of the 21700 cell that's in there. There is a small card that lets you know that on its way to you, it does have a small battery isolator. Make sure it doesn't turn on during shipment. You also get a USB-A to micro USB cable because it includes a charger as well. Now, this isn't the fanciest thing in the world, but it's definitely going to get the job done. So you can stick the 21700 cell or 18650 cell in here and go ahead and plug into the micro USB and get your batteries topped off. In addition to that, they do have a dive specific lanyard. Now this has a large, let me move this out of the way. This has a very large opening so you can wrap it around your gear and you know that nothing's going to go anywhere you don't want it to. So this will simply attach to the lanyard hole on the tail cap and get you going exactly where you need to be. So that's for the DL30. Let's get this out of the way and see what the DL10R comes with. Now for starters, it is shipped in a very similar, just slightly larger, white and orange classic Wurkkos box. DL10R has the XHP70B. Now the B, that's just what they put on their documentation, but it is an XHP70.2. This is also the set. Comes in between 4700 and 5300K, depending on where you're at in those modes. And we'll open her up. Inside, things are going to look pretty similar. You have the DL10R manual, lets you know exactly how to operate this to the fullest. That same placard letting you know that there is a battery isolator during shipment. This is the plastic that it came in, as well as the battery isolator, just to make sure that things are looking so fresh and so clean on their way to you. You do get a couple replacement O-rings. Then you get a USB-A to USB-C cable, and that's because this is USB-C versus the charger on the DL30 that is micro USB. And then you get that same dive lanyard. So it's a kind of a wrist strap all in one, but it has a large silicone loop here, so it won't ever tighten up and get tangled. So now let's get this out of the way, and we can focus more on those lights. So let's go ahead and look at the DL10R. Now you can see this massively deep orange peel reflector behind that glass lens, and that glass lens is obviously sealed with an O-ring because this is able to withstand pressures of up to 100 meters in the water. Now there are a couple grooves here, so if you do happen to set it on a table it will fall onto one of those grooves and it will serve as an anti-roll feature. And I'm going to save this part to last just because I think it is the coolest. But we will go ahead and move down to the battery tube. The machining that was on the head follows through to the battery tube. You can see the Wurkkos DL10R logo. On the backside, you'll see more of that necessary signage. And then you have the battery position indicator on top of the tail cap. So you do have some vertical machining here, as well as that horizontal banding that comes across, as well as an extremely large lanyard hole. Now let me hold this up to my very white hand so you can see this. So very large lanyard hole, and that's going to make it easy to get that lanyard attached and make sure that you can always know where your DL10R is underwater. So let's go ahead and take that tail cap off. And you can see these two O-rings right here. That's because every surface, every mating surface on the DL10R is double O-ring sealed. Here, down at the battery charge port or tail cap, up at the top of the battery tube, everywhere that it is sealed is a double O-ring seal. That's going to help with that 100-meter water resistance. So you will also see that USB-C port. And let me go ahead and grab, I do have a battery pack here. And this battery pack is capable of delivering up to 10 watts. So we'll go ahead and plug this in right now. And you can see that there is a red battery indicator. And this will change colors as soon as that battery is fully topped off. Now, one really nice thing about this is the fact that these threads are extremely well done. They're anodized and they're nice and greased. So getting that tail cap on every single time is not going to be a chore. Now, you don't notice any grittiness or anything like that when we're screwing this down, which I really, really appreciate. So finally, to the main part of the DL10R. Now, the DL10R is controlled with a magnetic control ring. So you don't have to worry about any buttons or switches. All you have to do to turn this light on is simply rotate the dial. So here we have indicators for off, low, medium, and high. So off, obviously you're not going to get any output with off. But when you switch it to low, you have 600 lumens, and this will give you that 4 hours and 19 minutes runtime. Or you can switch over to medium. This is going to be 1800 lumens, and this is going to have a 1 hour and 44-minute runtime. Or if you go all the way, this is all 4500 lumens from the XHP70.2, and this gives you a runtime of 1 hour and 25 minutes. And that's literally it. That's it. That's 100% of the user interface. Simply turn this where you want it, and you're set. So since it does have a very, very powerful XHP70.2 and only has that 1.5 or about 1.5 hour runtime, you are probably going to want to make sure that you have another 21700 cell on your person. That way you can just simply swap out the battery or keep a battery bank on you. So you can always charge this when you're out on your boat or preparing for your dive or what have you. So guys, that's the Wurkkos DL10R. Let's focus for a second on the DL30. Now there are going to be some similarities here. You do see 3 instead of 1. You see 3 of those Samsung LH351D emitters, and that's going to be with 3 much smaller but smooth reflectors. And that bezel is not anywhere near as smooth. You do get some crenulations going on here. So I'm not saying you're going to need to attack a shark or anything like that. But if you need it, you do have a little bit of a strike force here. Now it does offer, I think this kind of looks like a mix of Sofern as well as Convoy, if I'm being frank, but these very shallow cooling fins that have a banding that goes all the way across. And then you can step down. We do have another magnetic control ring, which we'll get to in a second. But the battery tube looks eerily similar to the DL10R. Obviously, it says DL30, so there are differences, but the battery tube looks similar. I think these machinings are just slightly deeper. And we can go over to the battery cap. The battery cap here, this has some almost TDO2 or even some well tool style shallow machining, and those sit on flats all the way around. And then you have, like I said, a recess with a very large lanyard hole. So you also have your battery indicator on this side here. And then that brings us to the magnetic control ring again. So that magnetic control ring operates identically and even looks very similar. There is a little bit of a machining difference between the two, but it looks very similar and operates identically. Now, one difference between this is when you go ahead and switch to low here, the first one is going to give you 350 lumens with that runtime of 5 hours and 52 minutes. Medium is going to give you 1300 lumens with a runtime of 2 hours and 9 minutes. And then high is going to give you all 3600 lumens of 90 CRI output. And that's going to give you a runtime of 1 hour and 28 minutes. So again, you're pulling a lot of current in order to light up these three Samsung emitters for 3600 lumens, especially at an hour and a half long. So you're probably going to want to make sure that you have another battery on hand, or at least keep that charger that they give you. So inside both of these are a 21700 cell battery, 5000 milliamp hours, and these are all flat tops. All the Wurkkos batteries I've ever seen are flat tops, all the 21700s anyways. But you can see inside here, at least I hope. Nope, I'm sorry. I need to get another top light so I can show you guys the inside of these. But there is a spring on the inside here, as well as a spring on the tail cap. Now that's going to help with making sure that if you do end up dropping it or bumping it, it's not going to cut out the, and make sure that you're always able to use the light as it is. So I can tell you right now that I already do have a DL10R. Now they sent these ones because they wanted a review, and I have one that I've put through its paces. It looks halfway decent, but this thing's been tossed around. This thing's been dropped. This is kind of my kids' go-to for being outside. So you're not strictly stuck to using the DL10R or the DL30 in the water. These do have active temperature or advanced temperature regulation. They do have over and under voltage discharge protection. So you are protected, and it will step down if you ever are in a position where water is not actively cooling these. That's one really important thing to make sure, is that if it's not being cooled by the water, you don't need to worry that it's going to overheat. These will step down automatically, and you don't have to run the risk of doing any sort of serious damage. They'll just get a little warm. But outside that, guys, let's go ahead and take these outside so we can see how three of these LH351D and that one XHP70.2, we can see how they compare side by side, or rather one at a time, and we'll see how the beam patterns compare. So here we have the LH351D versus the XHP70.2. But let's go ahead and take these out so we can see how they compare, and you guys can make a decision that is best for you as far as how you would use them and which one is better suited. So let's get out there.
All right, guys, for tonight's showdown, we have the Wurkkos DL30 and the DL10R. Now, one is a single emitter, XHP70.2 with 4500 lumens, and we're going to start with the contender, the DL30, with 3 LH351Ds and a total of 3800 lumens. So let's start with low, then we'll go to medium, and finally, we will go to high. Now, this is all 3800 lumens from the Wurkkos DL30. Now, frankly, not bad for a dive light. And on the other side of things, we have the DL10R. Now we're going to go low. So quite a bit different beam because it has that one single emitter. And we're going to go medium. And finally high. Now this is 4500 lumens, all from that one XHP70.2. Just so we can do one more comparison, we have all 3800 lumens from the DL30. Now again, this is 3 LH351D emitters from Samsung, followed by one XHP70.2 from our friends over at Cree. This is 4500 lumens from the DL10R. All right, guys, now that we have a good comparison, let's go ahead and get back inside.
All right, guys, we went outside and we saw the DL10R versus the DL30, And I gotta say, I think either one of these honestly is going to be a really, really nice option. If you are a Cree fanboy versus a Samsung emitter fanboy, I mean, you may have a preference one over the other, but the emitters, at least to my eye, look pretty similar. I think this one came in just a little bit warmer, but I would have to say that the Samsung emitters with that slightly higher CRI may take the cake for me. Now, I wish this was a little bit brighter, but that being said, I think for me, it all comes down to tint. They're both very, very capable lights, and I don't think you're going to make a wrong choice regardless of which one you do decide on. So I want you guys to tell me down in the comments below what you thought of the differences between the XHP 70.2 and that single emitter with that orange peel reflector versus the three emitters with those shallow smooth reflectors. And tell me which one you guys like best, if you thought the color was better on one of them, if you thought the beam pattern was better on the other, so on and so forth. Tell me down in the comments below. Now, I'll tell you right now, if either of these interest you, I want to let you know now that they are on sale on the Wurkkos website. Now, the DL10R is $44.99 without a battery, or if you want that 21700 cell battery, it bumps it up just slightly to $48.99. And if you like the LH351Ds instead on that DL30, this is on sale for $34.99 without the batteries, or that same 21700 cell. It bumps it up $5 this time to $39.99. Or if you want to support Wurkkos directly, I'll go ahead and post some links down in the description and in the comments below so you guys can click on those links and pick these up for yourself. So, guys, I just want to say now, thank you so much for being here with me. If you guys didn't watch these videos, I would not be afforded the opportunity to get these flashlights outside and be able to play with them, be able to review them, tell you what I think. And finally, I wouldn't be able to tell you guys what I think. So I can help you guys make an informed decision as to what's good, what's bad, what's different, what's a little bit quirky, and what needs worked on. So, guys, thank you so much. And I want to be able to repay you guys with more of these reviews and giveaways. And the best way to do that is to like the video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel. And if you're going to do that, go ahead and click on that bell notification. That will make sure you guys know exactly when we post a new video, and it'll help you get entered into some of our giveaways. So thank you so much, and we'll see you in the next one.